Hi, it's an end of August, so this is my August updates on my orchids, mostly here inside of tank. All my puffy petals settled in, and look how full my tank is now. I probably couldn't possibly fit in another orchid here, although my top place has some space for maybe a couple mounds. And yeah, that's it. Nothing else would fit in here. My catasedoms are growing crazy. They're like giant trees here. Look. And I got new buds. There they are. On my Catasetum Barbaton cross Gladiatorium that I got from Gabrielle. And it already bloomed for me. You see, there is an old spike that bloomed recently this summer. And I expected it to go into dormancy after that, but it started to grow something. I thought it was new growth at first, but it turned out to be yet another spike. So it blooms twice per season. Really cool. I love this growth. And yeah, they're growing too large. Now I need to watch the leaves. This leaf got cut when I was closing the door in between doors. Feels so terrible. Look. So those leaves are huge here. This is Jamba Mickey. And I'm still hoping to see the spike, but it's not there. But at least bulb is growing very fat. So I think they do appreciate my tank. And yeah, they take a lot of space here. But not on the glass. See, the pot is not as big. So it's mostly here, the leaves. And since here's an opening, so it's fine. I'm just keeping them in. And so some of my new plants that I got are progressing well. This is the Phalaenopsis Commoda pink that I got from Rasketzel, and it's growing new growths, and it's growing pretty fast. So it's doing very well. And there in the back is also Phalaenopsis from her bread fields. That one doesn't do that well because it kind of frothed me a leaf. But there at the base, I don't know if you can see it, but there's a little knobbing. So it looks like maybe a new growth will start or is starting. So hopefully it'll be okay and we'll start new growth really soon. And this is my Jindrobium Trantoanii that I just received recently from Clouds. So it's growing well. See the new growth? It's growing tall, bigger than the previous one, which is good. My Jindrobium Gladiatorium grew so much this season. Look, and there's so many roots. I'm very happy with it. And also the Jen can see. For the winter, they will get out of tank and go on a windowsill to experience cold and dry. And on their place, I might actually put some hot growing Catastro from the windowsill. Probably Ludimaniana. I'm sure it likes it warm. And maybe some other. I need to do research because I can fit 2 Catastros in here probably. So yeah, the rearrangement will be going on. And here's another new Jindrobium that I just received recently. This is Jindrobium Christiano from Tropical Gardens. And this is the new growth that just started for me. See this one here? Hopefully I will see the blooms on it. Now, I've repotted all my Phalaenopsis. And I gave them the large pots. See, I have those huge Phalaenopsis, see? It's huge. And there was lots of roots rambling around, lots of aerial roots, which was making it inconvenient to get them out for watering. And I usually don't like to give my Phalaenopsis big pots because in a tank roots grow very fast and a lot, and then you end up with small plant in a huge pot because the roots are huge. So I usually trim the roots. When I repot Phalaenopsis, I try to keep them in the same pots and just cut off the roots, which is really brutal, but that's what I do. But this time I looked at them. They have huge leaves, right? This is Gigantea hybrid, a Mokchoyu. It's in the process of growing new leaf. And the leaves are huge. And I thought, well, to support those huge leaves, you do need huge roots probably. So I gave in, and I gave them those huge square pots. 1 and 2, and there's another one. 3. That one is blooming. The good thing about those Phalaenopsis, they are good for those darker corners because they don't need too much light to bloom. See, that one is in a dark corner and it blooms fine. And there's my, I forgot the name of that cross, the jewel orchid. I propagated it. I had this one plant, but it became very leggy and unattractive, so I cut off the pieces and I created new pot. And I want in future to create kind of like a big dish garden with some jewel orchids for my IKEA shelf. So I'm starting to prepare the material for that dish garden. I need to buy more different jewel orchids, of course, but this is just the start. And yeah, I reported all my Phragmipediums and slippers into Archeata, and actually Phalaenopsis got Archeata too. I didn't buy Archeata before because I didn't really want to spend a lot of money, because Archeata is expensive bark here. I don't know what about other places, but comparing to usual pine bark, it's quite expensive, and I couldn't justify buying it. But lately I was buying a lot of slippers from 3 different places actually, and all of them came potted into Archeata bark. And I thought, well, it means something. So it kind of convinced me to get some. And I bought 2 huge bags of Archeata. I used power mix. See, that's a power. That's my mix. The power size for Pathia pedulums. And I also bought super large, which I used for Phalaenopsis and Phragmipediums, but also I was picking the really large pieces there, and I'm keeping it for the Cattleyas. In the spring I'm gonna repot Cattleyas, so I will be using that bigger bark for that. See, I'm thinking ahead. And so what else happening here? My Jindrobium tubaense, remember it had 2 blooms. So the very first one bloom is starting to go. See, it's wilting. It's still there, but it's wilting. But look, there's yet 3rd bud coming up. So this plant has been in bloom for like a long period, and with this new bud coming, it's gonna be more. Really nice plant. Jindrobium tubaense. Buy it if you can get it. It's like really fun. Look at the flowers, are so cool looking. And so I have 1 new growth growing, and there's the second one. So this plant is continually doing something, growing, blooming, budding, a busy plant. And my what's his name, Hibiki, still in bloom, but that's not news, right? It will be in bloom for long period. My plant is not as big. It's a small plant, but it creates lots of colors here. when it blooms. I like it. And that's my poor flask of Phragmipedium's caudatum crossed with Cavachii. There's only 4 seedlings left. All the others are rotted. I know what the problem was. I was keeping them too wet because I assumed if older Phragmipediums like it wet, maybe the small ones do too, but no, they don't. They rotted through the stem at the base. So these 4 that left, they're pretty strong, so maybe something will come out of it. Maybe not. Well, we'll learn as we do stuff. So I learned this was my first Phragmipedium deflasking, and now I know what to do and what not to do with them. My Phragmipediums from Aqua Genera are growing very well. I can definitely see their progress. I'm expecting blooms on at least one of this, on at least one of these growths on ruby slippers. They look mature, so hopefully. And when I was reporting, this one had a lot of roots, so hopefully I will see the blooms on it. And this is Aqua Genera Gigi, which is not doing very well. It rotted all the roots, like all the bottom of the plant was rotted. So it broke into 2 pieces. This is the second piece. And they're both rootless. So it might or might not recover. We'll see. Time will tell. And also I mounted my Phalaenopsis japonica. Not for aesthetical reasons, not because I like the look, but mainly to save the plant. Because also I managed to rot all the roots on it. There's only one single root. You can see it peeking out of the moss. And the rest are just the stubs of rotting roots that I trimmed. They might still produce green tips, or they might just rot some more. Hopefully mounted, they will not rot some more but produce the green tips, but there's no guarantee. So hopefully it will recover on the mount. We'll see. I think it looks good on the mount too. And maybe it will be easier to see the blooms because they're always covered under the leaves when in pot and you cannot see them. So on the mount they might be presented better. Of course, if it will recover and continue to live. And my this is my Dalensan Troy. Can I focus on it? It's in a corner there, and it's still in bloom on one spike. The other spike wilted. But this is a 5th bloom, and there is a 6th bud still coming. So that's also really productive Phragmipedium. And in the pot, it produced me 5 new babies. So potentially it will become large plant if they all grow nicely. This is my bloom that you've already seen here on IKEA shelf. The things are not as not going as fast here as in the tank, but this is my Phylogeny Lawrenceana whooper that is growing many new growths. I don't know if it will give me the blooms, but growing is progressing well, so it looks good. I like it. And finally, my Stanhopea canata. Finally, it started to grow something. Well, I assume it's a new bulb. It was sitting there doing nothing for like a long time. And there's still moss in the basket. But I put coconut husk chips just for the look. Because I got so sick and tired of looking at the green algae covered moss. So I went and put some cocoa chips on the top. I mean, this moss will still dry out inside because they're wooden slats. It's not like I covered moss and it will never dry out, but at least the top will look nicer. I don't know if it makes sense to anybody. Probably not. And yeah, that was my update for August. I recently showed you Catastro, so I'm not gonna stop on them, but there are the buds still growing. See, in the corner on the window, on the white bridle. And thank you for watching, and have a nice day.